welcome to Just a Thought. I'm your host, Jeff Spates. Happy New Year, everybody, and welcome to 2026. I know it probably feels weird that another year is already upon us, but the holiday season came and went in a flash. 1 minute we're tangled in Christmas lights, fighting for that last parking spot at the mall. The next, you're standing in a line, again, trying to keep your patience while someone in the front of you debates their whole shopping list like they're on a game show. Maybe some of you braved those holiday dinners that started out festive and turned into hours of, family stress, questionable casseroles, and forced small talks with relatives you only see once a year. Or maybe you went the quieter route, just enjoying the quiet and the peace before that ball dropped and swept us clean into 2026. Now here we are. The holidays are officially behind us. The decorations are more or less packed away, and we're standing on the edge of something new. A brand new year with all its hope and all its chaos still to come. This is always such a hopeful time, at least for the moment. Maybe it's that feeling you get before anything goes wrong, before you misplaced any resolution or lost your cool at the gym before life happens in that relentless way that it always does. Maybe you're just eager for a fresh start after a tough 2025. Or maybe you're one of those optimists who sees every new beginning as an open door. Whatever that means to you, I'm glad you're here. Today's topic is timely. Out with the old, in with the new. It's a classic saying, but it hits different this time of year. And I don't just mean cleaning out the garage or deleting people from your contact list, though honestly, maybe you should. When I say out with the old, I'm talking about shedding the habits, the people, and the mindset that don't serve you anymore. Maybe you've realized certain friends or relationships aren't rooting for your growth. Maybe your own patterns are holding you back. If you're on a journey to become your best self, then it doesn't make sense to let negativity, old grudges, or doubters tag along for the ride. Those late night cakes and impulse snacks, they got to go too. Trust me, nobody likes hearing don't eat after 9 o'clock. But at some point, we have to admit a little discipline does help. The same is true upstairs in your mind. If you're still holding on to beliefs about who you are or what you can't do just because that's what you've always believed, well, you're driving with the parking brake on. There's a saying, new results take new action. Sticking to the same routines that got you stuck last year probably isn't going to get you unstuck this year. So as we get started in 2026, and yeah, I know we're only a few days in, it's not too late to step into a new headspace. Leave the old mindset behind. Try out new habits, meet new people, say yes to new opportunities, and walk into the year the way you want to live it. But before we jump fully in, as always, I want to take a second to shout out some of our amazing listeners. Starting with my team at 97.3 The Heat. Thank you for making this show happen every single week. Quick plug, if you want to catch up on any episode, past, present, or dig into conversations later, check out the 97.3 The Heat YouTube channel. Everything is up there. I also want to send New Year wishes to Friendly Kingdom Therapy Center in Pensacola, Florida, especially to Miss Morgan, Janelle Crown, Brenda Thomas Schaefer, and Leonard Stewart. Thanks for tuning in and for your work in the community. Then I got to throw a shout out to the boys varsity basketball team at Alcovey High School in Covington, Georgia. Guys, I hope today's show gives you something you can use both on and off the court and in life. And finally, hello to Mr. and Mrs. Calvin Winters in Lansing, Michigan. Thank you for all you do for young people in your city, and thank you for giving us a chance. All right, let's get to the good stuff. Out with the old, in with the new. Let's talk about how we make that real in 2026. Let's talk about fresh starts. There's something about those two words together that feel good even before you get into the details. Fresh, like something just pulled from the oven. Start, like someone's waving a green flag. You put them together and you've got the reason people love the new year. And maybe why gym memberships sell out every January. So, what is it about the idea of a fresh start? Why does flipping the calendar make so many of us feel like, okay, maybe this time it'll be different? And I've thought about this a lot. And to me, it all comes down to hope. The new year is a clean break, a socially approved, guilt-free stamp on the past. Whatever happened in 2025 or before, you get to draw a line and say, that was then, this is now. Even if nothing else changes, that's powerful on its own. But is it real? Some people say starting over is a myth. They say things like, wherever you go, there you are, that your past follows you no matter what the calendar says. And there is some truth in that. If January 1st comes and you're still wrestling with the same fears and habits you had on December 31st, nothing actually changed but the date. But what if the point isn't about deleting your past, but giving yourself permission to do something different now? And maybe it's less about hitting an actual reset button and more about reimagining what could come next. That's where the magic is, I think. You see, humans love stories. We like markers and milestones. Birthdays, anniversaries, new jobs, moving to a new city. The new year is just another milestone, but it's universal. Almost everyone in the world for at least a few days agrees. Let's pause and take it all in. Let's imagine who we could be. Suddenly, change feels less scary because you're not alone. Everyone is stepping out onto the same blank canvas. There's energy in the air, and for just a little while, it becomes okay, even exciting to dream a little bigger. I think that's why we get braver in January. The world gives us permission to be new, and there's something about that permission. Call it psychological, spiritual, or just social, that flips a switch inside us. You see it everywhere. People dusting off old goals, showing up at the gym, writing morning pages, reconnecting with friends. Maybe most of us won't stick with the big promises we make in January, but that's not failure. That's just proof that change is hard, no matter when you start. But for a little while, everybody's part of something hopeful, something that says you are more than the sum of last year's mistakes. Is starting over real? Probably not, at least not in the movie sense, where you walk away from the wreckage of your history and never look back. But you can always begin again. One of the best parts about being human is that you get unlimited attempts to try things a different way. The new year just makes that feel more official. And sometimes that's all we need, a reason to try. A tiny push that says, maybe this year I'll be just a little braver. So, is a fresh start a magic trick? Maybe it doesn't matter if the change is only in your mind. Sometimes that's the only place that matters. And if we fool ourselves into being a little bolder, a little kinder, a little more open to new things, well, that sounds like the best kind of fresh start there is. Speaking of fresh starts, let's talk about something most of us struggle with. Letting go of people who hold us back. It's one of those things that's easy to put on a self-help checklist, but brutally hard to deal with in real life. I think everyone hits a point when they look around and realize that not every relationship is a net positive. Sometimes it's subtle. A friend who's always got something negative to say when you're excited about a new project, or a relative who's quick to remind you of every mistake you've ever made. Other times it's more obvious. The friend who only calls when they need something. The partner who can't celebrate your wins without making it about them. It stings to admit it, but sometimes the people we start our journey with aren't meant to come with us for the whole ride. But how do you know when a friendship or relationship has run its course? It's not always clear cut. There's no official expiration date stamped across someone's forehead. Sometimes you just start feeling tired after every conversation. Maybe you notice you're shrinking a little, keeping your dreams to yourself because you know they'll get shot down. It can happen slowly, death by 1,000 tiny cuts. That only becomes obvious when you add them up. The shift can feel like grief, and in a way it is. You're mourning the person you thought they were, or the dynamic you hoped you'd have. Recognizing it is one thing, but acting on it is another. Most of us cling to old ties out of loyalty, fear, or even habit. We tell ourselves that history matters more than happiness. But being loyal to people who stunt your growth isn't noble. It's self-sabotage. And here's another hard truth. You can't change people who don't want to change. That's a lesson I wish you only had to learn once, but some of us need a few reminders along the way. So, what does moving on look like? First, let's be honest. Not every ending needs a big dramatic confrontation. You don't owe everyone a speech or a meltdown. Sometimes it's just a quiet stepping away, a gradual investment in other things. You stop being available for every late night venting session. Maybe you set boundaries, say no more often, and focus on friends who build you up. Sometimes you do need a real conversation, especially if the relationship is rooted in deeper problems or patterns you can't ignore. The key is to be honest, clear, but not cruel. We're just on different paths right now. It's more than enough. And feeling guilty, it's normal. We're wired for connection, and walking away feels like betrayal. That guilt might linger for a while, but here's what I've learned. You're not responsible for other people's happiness, and sacrificing your peace out of obligation doesn't make you a saint. It just makes you stuck. Healthy letting go isn't about winning or proving who was wrong. It's about releasing both of you from expectations that no longer fit, so you can make room for growth for yourself and for them too. Drama thrives on blame and rehashing the past. Maturity doesn't. Sometimes it's just a simple, quiet decision to wish someone well and mean it. So if you're at the threshold of a new year, taking stock of your life and noticing some relationships that feel more like a weight than a blessing, remember this. It is okay to want more for yourself. Why wouldn't you want more? New beginnings can't happen if you're still dragging around old baggage, especially the kind with names and phone numbers. Your time and your energy are very precious. You see how fast last year went. As we get older, these years go faster and faster and faster. So we don't have a lot of time to waste, especially if you're trying to get to that next level. It's not easy, but it does get lighter. Letting go is its own kind of fresh start. And you deserve to see what happens when you give yourself room to breathe. So those toxic people in your life, the ones that hate every move you make, that criticize everything that you do, that talk over you, that make you feel away, are they bringing anything to your life other than a headache? Because if not, then take a look at going in a different direction. We'll be right back.
97.3 FM is sponsored in part by the Sports Book for Young Athletes, College Recruiting Roadmap.
Are you a young athlete with dreams of playing your sport in college and getting a scholarship to do it? Are you a parent with a talented kid? College Recruiting Roadmap is your ultimate step-by-step guide to turning that dream into reality. Written for student athletes, parents, and coaches, this comprehensive guide takes the guesswork out of college recruitment and lays out a clear path to success. Whether you're just starting in elementary, middle school, high school, or already deep into your athletic journey, this book will help you take the right steps at the right time to stand out to college coaches. Available on Amazon.
It's your boy Potty Ali. This is The Game, the number one celebrity show in the world. Catch me every Saturday and Sunday on Grand Rapids on 97.3 FM, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. This is the number one celebrity show in the world.
Are you tired of the same old routine? Feeling like life's just passing you by? Then it's time for Just a Thought. Every Sunday from 10 to 11 a.m. right here on 97.3 The Heat. We'll give you the spark you need to shake things up. Fresh ideas, real talk, and a shot of new energy to help you see life differently. Stop settling for the status quo. Tune in and let's rethink what's possible together. That's Just a Thought, Sundays at 10 on 97.3 The Heat. Don't miss it.
Tune in to WJWC 97.3 FM, The Heat, home of hip-hop and R&B, Latin crossover, Latin rap, and Latin R&B.
And we're back. Welcome to Just a Thought. I'm your host, Jeff Spates. Once we start clearing space in our lives, sometimes by letting people go, sometimes by just stepping back from what holds us back, we get a chance to notice something else. A lot of what weighs us down isn't always on the outside. Sometimes it's the stubborn habits living rent-free in our own heads. You know the ones I'm talking about, that late night snacking, the just 5 more minutes on social media that somehow turns into 45, or the impulse to say yes when you know you should say no. Habits, good or bad, are the quiet background music of our lives. They play on repeat, shaping the way we move through every day, even when we wish they wouldn't. Why do we cling to behaviors we know don't serve us? You think knowing better would be enough, but most of us have at least one stubborn routine we swear we'll quit tomorrow. Deep down, I think it all comes down to habits are the things we do on autopilot. The grooves we fall into when we're tired, stressed, or just need something familiar to cling to. They're comforting for a reason. Our brains are designed to find the fastest way to survive the day, and habits turn decision into less work. The problem, not all shortcuts lead somewhere good. Think about late night snacking. It's rarely about hunger and more about reward. Something sweet after a rough day, a way to cheer ourselves up. Doom scrolling isn't about loving outrage or wanting to see bad news. It's about distraction or trying to fill up the space when we're bored or anxious or avoiding something bigger. Even the little things, fidgeting, biting your nails, zoning out in meetings, have a purpose, even if it's just to give your brain a break. So then, what's the best way to actually change a habit? First, it starts with honesty. You got to look at yourself as a whole person, not just someone who lacks willpower. Willpower fades. Stress, chaos, life, they wear it down. You need a plan that works with your real self, not your fantasy self. Start by making the invisible visible. Track your triggers. When do you reach for your phone? Is it right after you get bad news or when you're supposed to be working on something that scares you? When do the snacks come out? Write it down for a few days, not to judge yourself, but to get curious. Patterns always show up when you look closely enough. Secondly, swap. Don't just stop. Most habits meet a need. Instead of trying to white knuckle your way through quitting, find a better way to meet that need. If stress eating is your thing, try short walks or a quick check-in call with a friend after work. Replace mindless scrolling with a real break. Maybe a podcast like Just a Thought, a playlist, anything that gives your brain a reset without spiraling into the void. Small changes stick longer than grand gestures. If you want to stop eating at 9 o'clock at night, start by not bringing those snacks into the house or by keeping a glass of water on your nightstand. If you want to use your phone less, move it out of the reach during those problem hours and set up a ritual like reading one page of a book before bed. And don't forget, real change is rarely linear. You'll backslide. We all do. The trick isn't to be perfect. It's to notice the slip. Forgive yourself and gently get back on track. You're building a new groove, and grooves take time. So as you're making room for the better people and bigger dreams in the new year, don't forget to clean up what's collecting dust inside too. Every habit you break is a little piece of freedom you win back for yourself. And those small wins, they add up faster than you think. If you've ever really tried to break an old habit, you probably run to a brick wall that doesn't look like a wall at all. Instead, it looks like a voice in your own head. A quiet resistance, a set of old beliefs playing on a loop. Because sometimes it's not our routines or what we eat at midnight that holds us back, but the way we think about ourselves, about change, and about what's possible. These are the toxic mindsets. Toxic mindsets are tricky because they're so familiar. They don't shout at you. Most days, they whisper just loud enough for you to believe every word. You hear things in your mind like, you'll always be like this. People like you never catch a break. Why bother trying? Some of us inherited these lines, hand-me-downs from parents, a tough teacher, or some tough break that left a scar. Others just soaked them up after a few too many disappointments. The trouble with toxic mindsets is that after a while, they stop feeling like opinions and start feeling like facts. But how do you spot when it's happening? First, pay attention to your soundtrack, the things you tell yourself when nobody else is around. When you try to do something new, do you find yourself reaching for reasons it won't work out? Do you downplay your successes or expect failure before you even start? That's often the giveaway. If you're always waiting for the other shoe to drop, or if you quit on yourself before you really try, your mindset might be doing more harm than any bad habit ever could. It's one thing to notice this voice, but do you actually do anything about it? I think the first step is actually the simplest. Start questioning your thoughts. Not every thought you think is true, but just because your brain serves a reason to quit doesn't mean you have to buy it. Next time a familiar negative thought pops up, treat it like a headline you read online and ask yourself, is this even true? And where's the proof? You'll find a lot of those old stories don't really stand up when you shine the light on them. Another practical step is to flip the script. If your mind tells you you always fail at this, take 2 seconds to remind even one time you succeeded. If you can't find one, imagine what it would look like if you did succeed. What would you need to believe to make that possible? Just the act of imagining starts to carve new tracks in your brain, weakening the old ones. It's also powerful to share your mindset out loud. Sometimes saying it to a friend or even just writing it down is enough to realize how shaky it sounds. The more sunlight you give to toxic beliefs, the less power they have. If you can surround yourself with positive people who default to optimism, not blind optimism, but the kind of practical hope that isn't afraid to try something new, then practice compassion. There's a reason those old beliefs took root in the first place. Somewhere along the line, they protected you from disappointment or failure. But you've changed. And just like any habit, you can outgrow an old mindset if you keep moving and keep questioning and keep showing up. So if you're serious about growing this year, about turning those small wins into something bigger, don't just focus on what you do, but on what you believe. Your mindset isn't set in stone. It's more like clay. It's shapeable, changeable, waiting for you to make something new. The silent enemy never wins when you start paying attention and fighting back. When you break free from those old ways of thinking, that's where real change lives. And making new friends and new habits and new choices, all of it starts with the story you're willing to tell yourself. Challenging those silent enemies in our head, those toxic mindsets, isn't just about tearing everything down and starting over with a blank slate. Once you've learned to spot the thoughts that keep you stuck, there's an equally important question. What actually deserves to stay? Because not everything old is baggage. Some things, some beliefs, even some relationships are solid. Parts of your foundation that you'd be lost without. There's a real temptation when you're in the mood to change your life, to want to toss everything out at once. New year, new me. Clear out the closet, quit the job, take a digital detox, stop talking to anyone from your past who doesn't fit. There's a certain thrill to reinvention, but let's be honest. If you wipe your slate completely clean every time you crave change, you end up losing the part of yourself, your story, your core values that actually makes life meaningful. So how do you decide what truly old baggage and what's worth keeping? It starts with honest reflection. Think about the things, the beliefs, even the people in your life that you're tempted to leave behind. And ask yourself, when you strip away guilt, nostalgia, pressure, who or what actually adds weight to your days? And what or who offers you stability, care, or inspiration? Let's start with beliefs. Not every belief you picked up as a child or learned over years needs to be discarded. Sometimes we're quick to call something a limiting belief when it's actually rooted in experience or even wisdom. Maybe your skepticism saved you from a scam. Maybe your caution came from a time you left before you looked and paid for it. The trick is figuring out which belief keeps you safe and which just keeps you small. A good measuring stick, does this belief open doors or does it slam them shut? Does it help you treat yourself better and others with kindness, or does it give you an excuse to run from the growth? The same goes for people. Relationships evolve. Some fade away naturally and others hit a painful breaking point. It doesn't mean every old connection is toxic. There are friends you've had for years, the ones who show up, who remember your birthday, who aren't thrown by your changes. They're not weighing you down, they're your anchor. But if you walk away from every relationship that challenges you, you'll always be starting from scratch. Sometimes the discomfort we feel with an old friend is just growing pains. Sometimes it's a red flag. Learning the difference takes practice. When in doubt, lean into the friendships that are honest, that allow for both change and continuity. If being with someone makes you feel more like yourself, not less, you probably want to invest there. And then there's the stuff in life, careers, routines, traditions. There's nothing wrong with holding on to the recipe your grandmother handed down, or the routine that keeps your morning steady, or even a job that pays the bills while you dream of your next step. Out with the old, in with the new isn't a rule. It's an invitation to let go where you're cramped and keep what gives you room to grow. Because at the end of the day, not everything old must go. Some things are worth fighting for and holding tight to because they remind you who you are underneath it all. The secret is knowing the difference. We'll be right back after these messages.
97.3 FM is sponsored by Gun Lake Casino.
There's always something new at GLC. Now with an all-new, all-spectacular hotel. Gun Lake has expanded with more bars and restaurants, a new high-limit tables room, a spa, and an endlessly incredible hotel. Deliciousness, relaxation, and exhilaration now on a whole new level. The all-new hotel, now open at Gun Lake Casino Resort. Book your room today at gunlakecasino.com.
Thank you, Gun Lake Casino.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Jeff Spates from Just a Thought. Here's your thought of the day. The door to happiness opens from the inside. Remember that. Want more inspiration and real talk? Catch us every Sunday from 10 to 11 a.m. right here on 97.3 The Heat.
This program comes to you by the Community Voice La Voz magazine, administrated by Dr. Jose Flores, editor-in-chief. You can find him at 1052 Granville Avenue, Southwest New Michigan. You can reach him at 616-581-6271. Gracias, Jose.
Student athletes, parents, and coaches, tune in to Jerseys for Life Radio every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. I'll be talking about how sports help shape your life. You can listen in online at www.theheat973.com. I'll see you there.
And we're back. Welcome to Just a Thought. I'm your host, Jeff Spates. Once you've sorted through what to hold on to and what to release, it's easy to start thinking that change has to be sudden or impressive. We're conditioned to look for turning points, moments when everything falls into place or shifts in a new direction. Maybe we imagine that progress has to be loud or obvious to count. Yet, most real change doesn't arrive all at once. It often slips in quietly, almost unnoticed, through the small, everyday choices we make. But real life, more often than not, isn't about burning everything down and starting from scratch. It's a quieter process. The biggest long-term difference in our lives rarely come from a single huge choice. They show up through the power of small changes, repeated and refined again and again. Sometimes barely noticed until one day you look up and realize how far you've come. Why do we overlook small tweaks? Maybe because they don't feel heroic enough. Picking a salad over fries at lunch, going outside for 5 minutes instead of scrolling, setting out your gym clothes before bed. These things don't inspire the same awe as a 4-day cleanse or signing up for a triathlon. It doesn't help that modern culture shuts at us to go big or go home. Who wants to celebrate getting up 10 minutes earlier when Instagram is full of people launching brands and climbing mountains? But here's the secret every wise mentor tries to tell you. Small changes are where real lasting progress happens. They're sustainable because they fit into daily life, stacking up quietly in the background until they become part of who you are. Instead of fighting with a sheer willpower for weeks and then crashing, you build new habits so gradually that you don't have to grit your teeth to keep it going. Let's take resolutions. Every January, millions of people make grand promises, swear off sugar forever, pledge a perfect gym streak, or declare they'll wake up at dawn and meditate without fail. But by February, most of those promises have disappeared. Not because people are weak, but because the leap was too huge. True growth respects where you're starting from. It builds by degrees, not by drama. So, which approach works best? Imagine your life as a giant ship in the ocean. If you turn the wheel a single degree, at first, nothing much seems to change. The ship keeps moving forward, almost as if you've done nothing at all. But keep that direction for hours, and the wake you leave behind will trace a whole new path across the sea. That's the true power of small changes. They're incremental, almost invisible until they're not. The trick is choosing to tweak things that are manageable, repeatable, and meaningful to you. Maybe you drink 1 extra glass of water a day. Maybe you carve out 10 minutes for reading or reflection. Maybe you replace a judgmental thought with curiosity just once each day. Over time, these choices shift your momentum. You become someone who does what they set out to do steadily and with purpose. And of course, there's nothing wrong with dreaming big or going all in. A dramatic gesture is the spark you need, but for most of us, the changes that last are the ones we sneak in quietly until our habits and mindsets have been woven into something new. So as you move forward with whatever foundation you've chosen to keep, don't get discouraged by the smallness of your efforts. Real change, the kind that actually sticks, doesn't usually announce itself with fireworks. It's found in the everyday choices you make with applause. Trust those tiny shifts and let them carry you towards something bigger than you might even imagine. In the long run, those little steps add up, and sometimes that's where the magic really happens. Let's tell the truth about growth. It isn't always fun. In fact, a lot of times it feels downright uncomfortable, sometimes awkward, sometimes frustrating. And more than once, like you might have made a huge mistake by trying to change it all. It's easy to talk about self-improvement when we're inspired and everything's going smooth, but real growth is messy, and it's almost always comes bundled with a heavy dose of discomfort. Why is that? Why, when we know we want something better, a healthier habit, a new job, a different way of thinking, do we still feel that tug back towards what's familiar, even if we know it isn't right for us? Chances are it's not because you're lazy or broken. It's because your brain is built to keep you safe. And safety, by its definition, means sticking to what you already know. There's science behind this. Our brains are incredible pattern recognition machines. And they get good at doing what we repeat. Every habit, every routine, every familiar behavior fires up the same well-worn neural pathways like trails in the woods you could walk with your eyes closed. When you try to blaze a new trail, your brain lights up with uncertainty. It gets nervous, even if logically you know the old route ends somewhere you don't want it to go. Discomfort, weirdly, is a sign that you're doing something new. But here's the paradox. Discomfort is also where the magic happens. The hardest workouts are the ones that make you stronger. The first time you walk into a room where you don't know anyone, your heart pounds, but that's also how you meet new people. When you stop eating dessert late at night, the first week is tough, but after a month, you might not even want it. Change never feels natural at the start. If it did, it wouldn't really be change. So, how do you stick with it when everything in you wants to slide back to the old ways? First, expect resistance. That voice in your head telling you to quit isn't proof you're failing. It's proof you're growing. If you plan for discomfort, if you know ahead of time it's going to show up, you're not as blindsided when it knocks at the door. One powerful trick is to make the discomfort meaningful. Remind yourself why you started. Write it down, say it out loud, tell a friend. The stronger your why, the easier it is to tolerate the anxious, restless part as you climb towards something better. And celebrate wins, no matter how tiny. There's a special joy in realizing, hey, I did it today, even if yesterday was hard. Progress isn't about never slipping up. It's about returning to your path, one small choice at a time. Another strategy is leaning into community. Trying to change alone is double the work. Find someone to check in with, someone who understands what you're aiming for, and let them cheer for you when you'd rather give up. When they stumble, cheer them back. Change is easier, even the uncomfortable bits, when you're not carrying all that awkwardness by yourself. Finally, accept that discomfort isn't a failure. It's data. It tells you you're going somewhere new. The secret isn't avoiding discomfort. It's learning not to fear it. Over time, you might even start to welcome it because you know it means you're growing. So as you take on new habits, new mindsets, or letting go of what isn't serving you, remember, if you feel uncomfortable, you're exactly where you need to be. The real breakthrough always waits on the far side of discomfort. And when we talk about growth, about making changes that last, about breaking old habits, or stepping out of our comfort zones, it's easy to imagine it's all about personal willpower. Like it all comes down to sheer grit, refusing to give up. And sure, determination counts for a lot. But ask anyone who's really made lasting change in their life, and they'll almost always tell you they didn't get there alone. Community, the people who walk alongside us, is a secret ingredient nobody can skip. Why is that? Why is community such a game changer? I think it's because change can be lonely, especially when it means leaving the familiar behind. You set a goal, you start to climb, but sooner or later, you're going to trip. You'll hit a wall, lose motivation, or start hearing the old doubts creep in. That's the moment when being part of a support circle makes all the difference. The right people offer perspectives when you're losing sight of why you started, and encouragement when all you want to do is fold. Friends play a unique role. They see us at our best and at our worst. Good friends won't just tell you what you want to hear, they'll keep it real. If you're slacking off, they'll notice. If you start to talk yourself out of a dream, they remember what you wanted before you got scared. Sometimes just knowing that someone is paying attention makes you want to show up for yourself. Studies even show we're far more likely to stick with new habits when someone else is watching, cheering, or even challenging us a little. Mentors are another kind of gift. A true mentor doesn't just share advice, they share experience. They know the territory ahead because they've stumbled through some of the same forest and fog you're walking through right now. A great mentor will call out your strengths when you've forgotten them and show you what's possible from a few years down the road. They draw you forward, not just with wisdom, but with evidence that it can be done. Then there are groups, your tribe, your team, your circle of people who gets why you're trying to change. Maybe it's a church group, a class, a book club, or even a few coworkers at lunch. These are the people who turn progress into a shared adventure. They celebrate your milestones, help brainstorm when you're stuck, and remind you that what feels hard for you is hard for everyone. That kind of connection shrinks shame and builds momentum. There's power in realizing you're not struggling alone. And it's not just about practical accountability either. There's something about belonging, a sense of being seen and valued that lifts us even on tough days. When someone you respect tells you, "I'm proud of you," it lights a little fire you can carry for weeks. That's why on this show, those shout outs at the start aren't just filler. They're a small moment to notice and honor the webs of support that makes everything possible on this show. Nobody grows in a vacuum. We all stand on the shoulders of people who show up for us and the people we show up for in return. So if you're working towards something big or even just inching forward on a small change, don't go it alone. Invite people into your plans. Tell a friend. Find the group. Reach out to the mentor. Give back when you can. Progress sticks not because you're unstoppable, but because you're connected. Together, growth isn't just possible. It's a whole lot more fun when you got the right people around you. because everybody around you is growing. We'll be right back.
Funding for 97.3 FM is provided in part by La Familia Stop and Shop, located at 1066 Cesar E. Chavez Avenue Southwest, providing groceries, convenience, and libations to local community.
97.3 FM is sponsored by Gun Lake Casino.
The wait is over. Everything you want. And it's all right here. A resort, spa, and spectacular tropical paradise. This is where you want to be.
This is where you want to be.
The all-new Gun Lake Casino Resort and Wawaye Oasis are now open. Must be 21 or older. Gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Thank you, Gun Lake Casino.
At the start of 2025, I challenged you. Let's make this our best year yet. Well, guess what? We're over halfway through, but that challenge still stands. There's still time to achieve greatness, and you don't have to do it alone. If you're ready to level up, tune in to Just a Thought every Sunday from 10 to 11 a.m. right here on 97.3 The Heat. We'll give you the tools, ideas, and motivation to turn your year around. Don't just coast through 2025. Make it count. See you Sunday right here on 97.3 The Heat.
Tune in to WJWC 97.3 FM, The Heat, home of hip-hop and R&B, Latin crossover, Latin rap, and Latin R&B.
And we're back. Welcome to Just a Thought. I'm your host, Jeff Spates. Let's be real for a minute. As much as we all want every new year to feel like a clean slate, most of us drag a little bit of the old mess with us. We can call it baggage or unfinished business, but really, it's just the ordinary clutter of life. Last year's mistakes, the moments we wish we handled better, the goals that never quite made it off the ground. And if you're serious about moving forward, about growing, about staying true to those new goals, you have to decide what you're going to do with those setbacks. So, what do you do with last year's failures or frustrations? Some people may say just let it go. Others say you should pore over every mistake like you're a detective looking for clues. Personally, I think the truth is somewhere in the middle. You start by taking a good, honest look at what didn't work. Maybe you swore you'd go to the gym 3 times a week, and by March, that goal was out of steam. Maybe you had a falling out with a friend or played it safe on a dream you never chased. Whatever it is, name it. There's power in just owning it outright. No excuses, no dodging, no pretending. Then comes the real work. Figure out what those missteps have to teach you. Most failures aren't just dead ends, they're detours with lessons you can carry. If you dropped a habit, was it too ambitious? Did you need more structure or more help? Was your heart really in it, or were you chasing someone else's idea of success? Sometimes setbacks are invitations to try again, but smarter. Sometimes they're signs you didn't actually want what you thought you did. Reflection reveals the difference. At the same time, don't fall into the trap of replaying your old mistakes over and over again. Shame has a sneaky way of posing as reflection, when it's really just putting your foot on the brake. There's a big difference between learning from the past and living in it. Once you've gotten the lesson, let yourself move on. Write it down, talk it out, or do a mini ritual to mark the end of that chapter. Whatever lets you lay it down so your hands are free to build something new. The real challenge is avoiding the rinse and repeat cycle. How do you stop yourself from dragging the same burdens into the new year? Start with intention. Set clear, reasonable goals and check in with yourself regularly. Celebrate the process and the progress, however tiny it is. If you feel old patterns popping up, notice them, but don't beat yourself up. Change usually happens in spirals, not straight lines. Expect setbacks, but don't invite them to move in. Just as importantly, surround yourself with people who'll call you forward, not by rubbing your nose in the past, but by reminding you what you're capable of. The right support circles can help hold up a mirror so you see the growth along with the cracks. And little by little, you're trading perfectionism for persistence, shame for curiosity. That's the real art. Not living a life without mistakes, but learning so well that you don't repeat the ones that hurt you the most. So as we flip the calendar and step into new promises, take a moment to look back with honesty. Take what you need and leave the rest. Because if you're carrying only the lessons and not the weight, you're already lighter than you were before. This sets us up for something powerful. Not that we know how to put the past in its place. Let's talk about how to actually make positive change stick. It's one thing to have a goal or a lesson. It's another to build a plan and turn it into real, lasting action in the months to come. We've all seen it. The calendar flip. The energy is high, and everyone is buzzing around and about their fresh start. For a few weeks, things feel different. Maybe you're getting up earlier, skipping that late night snack, or scheduling quality time with people who bring out your best. But come February, every gym is a little emptier. The motivational quotes have kind of faded away, and old routines start to creep back in. The hard truth, almost everyone has felt themselves slip right back into the patterns they were so determined to leave behind. So how do you make it out with the old and with the new last? What's the game plan that keeps this year from turning into a replay of 2025? The first step, I think, is to slow down and get honest about why you want to change in the first place. The more personal and specific your reason, the longer you're going to stick with it. Do you want to get healthier so you can pick up the grandkids? Save money because you are dreaming of a trip, not because someone else says you should. Your why is your anchor. When things get hard, and they will, coming back to that root reason makes all the difference. Next comes planning for reality, not the fantasy version of yourself. It's easy to commit to working out 6 days a week when you're riding the high of a new calendar and a little caffeine. But real life is messy, and motivation is never permanent. What will you do on the nights you're exhausted or stressed? How will you handle cravings, busy schedules, or setbacks? Instead of promising yourself perfection, build in flexibility. I'll get active 4 days this week, even if it's just a walk. It's both doable and forgiving. Habits last when they're woven into your day, not when they sit on top like an afterthought. Attach new actions to your routines you already have. Listen to an inspiring podcast while you drive to work. Check us out on 97.3 The Heat YouTube channel. Drink a glass of water every morning right after you brush your teeth. Take time on Sunday to review your goals and adjust the plan as needed. The more automatic the changes become, the less energy you'll spend forcing yourself to remember. Another key is making progress visible. Mark your wins. A gold star on the calendar, a note in your phone, a quick check-in with a friend or a support group. Seeing progress, even in tiny ways, fuels you to keep going. Don't wait for perfection. Celebrate consistency and forgive slip-ups. No worthwhile change happens in a straight line. Surround yourself with people who cheer for your growth. Tell them what you're working on. Let them support you and return the favor, even if your goals are personal. A little accountability goes a long way. You're far less likely to ditch a goal when someone will notice or even just ask about it. And lastly, be gentle with yourself. The old will always try to creep back in. And when you notice it, don't panic or beat yourself up about it. Recognize what triggered you. Adjust where you can and start again. Growth is less about never slipping up and more about returning to your path as quickly and kindly as possible. So if you want out with the old and in with the new to mean something real this year, build your plan around your true motivations, your real world routines, and the people you trust to cheer you on. Let go of perfection, but hold tight to persistence. The real magic isn't January's excitement. It's in the steady choices you make quietly long after the buzz has died down. That's how change not only starts, but stays. So as we wrap up this episode, I want to leave you with a couple thoughts, just a few things to keep in mind as we jump headfirst into 2026. I know sometimes it's tempting to threat the new year like it's just another date on the calendar, but I don't think that gives us enough credit. The truth is, every one of us, no matter where we're starting from, has this quiet ability to turn things around, even if it's just a small pivot at first. First, and maybe the most important thing, is the people you keep around you. I've said it before on this show, and I'll keep saying it because it's true. You become a little bit like the folks you spend the most time with. If your circle is negative, full of doubt, gossip, or little digs, you might not even realize it at first, but that energy gets into you. It wears you down and chips away at your self-belief, and suddenly you're wondering why you feel heavy even on the best days. If you really want something new for yourself in 2026, whether it's peace, success, joy, or just more steady ground, sometimes the first step isn't about chasing it. Sometimes it's about walking away from what it's in the way. That could mean letting go of certain relationships, changing up old habits, or even just unfollowing people who don't add any light to your day. I know that's easier said than done. Maybe it's lonely at first to let go, or maybe you're worried people won't understand. But I'd argue that making room for people who encourage you, who want to see you happy, who cheer for you, even for your smallest wins, is worth everything. Find those folks. Or if you can't find them yet, be that person for someone else. Because the energy you put out finds its way back to you. Second, give yourself grace. The world is loud. Scrolling through everyone else's highlight reels is way too easy to feel like you're behind or that you're not doing enough. But listen, growth isn't about winning some imaginary race with the person next door or the stranger online. It's about doing a little bit better, being a little bolder than you were yesterday or last year. Set goals that scare you, but be gentle with yourself on the deadlines and the detours. You're human, and this year, that's something to celebrate. Not everything will go as planned, and that's normal. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for spending your time with us tonight, for letting us be a part of your routine, your commute, your winding down time. You could be anywhere doing anything, and you show up here with me, and I see you, and I appreciate it more than I can say. If you want to hear this conversation again, or if you missed anything from today and want to go back, no sweat. Just head over to 97.3 The Heat YouTube channel. You'll find us there along with every other episode ready for you whenever you need a pick-me-up. And if that daily hit of inspiration and good music would help make your day a little bit lighter and a little more doable, don't forget you can also find me at live365.com. Just search Just a Thought Network. We're putting out motivation, music, little reminders that there's still good to be found out there, even when things feel a bit upside down. Because I promise you, if you turn on CNN, Channel 8, Channel 2, whatever channel, and you watch the news, there's all kinds of craziness going on, and we can get sucked up into that. And hopefully, this world won't put us in a worse position than we're already in. But the one biggest thing that we can do is help ourselves try to improve every day, try to get better every day, try to put ourselves in better positions. And if we do that, maybe we'll finally get to that place of peace that we all want so much. Thank you for listening. Catch you next week. Peace.